So this person wrote in and said, I've noticed that my boyfriend has been watching pornography with women who look nothing like me. For example, he loves Asian pornography and I am a white female. Should I be worried that he is looking elsewhere, or should I be worried about infidelity, or is this really not a big deal? Well, Asian pornography is definitely very popular. I know that. This is a hard one because it goes back to us saying we're not mind readers. So we're inferring, or in this situation, you're inferring that your boyfriend is interested in women who don't look like you. I think it's worth a conversation because we don't know if that's the case. People use pornography in very different ways. We've also interviewed people who say that they like to fantasize about people who don't look like their partners as purely as a fantasy. And I think there's something very biological to that. It's, we're curious creatures, and there's just so many different kinds of people out there. But it could be a problem if there is an addiction of some sort, and if it's taking away from your relationship. So ultimately, we can't be the judge of that. Only you and your partner can get an answer, get to an answer at least. And all you can do right now is have an open conversation about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I echo the statement of we don't know why they are like looking at this subset of porn. We don't know. It could be like the fantasy element that you said, or, I think it's unrealistic to think that our partners won't find anyone else attractive other than ourselves too. Whether they act on it is a different story. And I think people can debate if porn is cheating. And I think that is a conversation that's probably between you and your partner and how you feel about porn. But I think the whole element of, it kind of reminds me of like when someone says like, I have a type, and just because they have a type doesn't mean that they're not attracted to you. And also I've read like things about this, and you could almost like view it as the highest form of flattery, that even though they have a type, they still want to be with you. So I think it's all how you like spin it and talk to your partner and really see where it's coming from. But I do agree, like if you're not, if your partner's not intimate with you and they're only looking at Asian women in this case, then it's a problem. If you're like feeling loved and supported and connected, then maybe not so much. It kind of reminds me too of just even outside of porn, but I think a lot of people, they see their partner looking at, Instagram models, for instance, and liking photos, and what is the line? And I think realistically, there's all types of, women and men in all shapes and sizes, all colors of the rainbow, all of that. So I don't think that, it's always going to be that your partner only likes one specific look. But again, it comes down to how problematic is this for you? It's always worth a conversation, because maybe even just by hearing that it bothers you, it might change their behaviors a bit. Or they might reassure you that it does not mean that they don't find you attractive in any way.
We have to be really realistic about what's coming up for us. And I think I've been in this situation where I asked, am I not enough? Am I not attractive enough? Is my partner going to cheat on me? And that comes from all of my own insecurities in the relationship. And that's what's coming up for me. So in this situation, have that open conversation with your partner, but also tell them what is coming up for you. I think sometimes our partners don't know that this is impacting us in such a negative way. So it's just so important to keep them in the loop, but do not jump to conclusions. You have to collect all the information first.
I think it's also important to maybe look at it the reverse. Maybe you're not looking at porn because that's not your thing, or maybe you are. If you are, then that's even easier to make the comparison. What are you looking at? Yeah. And does that line up? I've heard of people that look at, like, women that look at lesbian porn, and they're not lesbian. Like, they've never done this, like, in real life, they've never acted on being with another woman. But for whatever reason, the lesbian porn is drawing them in for whatever reason. And maybe that is the fantasy element of it, or maybe it's a completely different reason. We don't know. But I think even if you're not a porn watcher, I kind of think about it as like, I don't know, like I think Channing Tatum is super attractive.
So hot.
Like, yeah, like most women that you poll would think that he or like Brad Pitt or George Clooney, like the people out there are super attractive. Does that mean that I don't think my partner's attractive because I think they're attractive? No. You know, it's like, it's not a comparison. And also, just because I think they're attractive doesn't mean that I'm, well, first of all, not going to date them because of many reasons. They probably don't want to date me either. And I would never come in contact with them. But
you never
hypothetically, let's just say that in a perfect world, I could date them. It doesn't mean I would want to because I don't know what their personalities are like, or I don't know how we would jive as a couple. Like, just because they're like an attractive person doesn't mean that that's going to be who you choose to be with.
Mm-hmm. Sexuality is very complex, and I think it's important to notice that in your partner. And also by catching them watching this kind of porn makes it seem like very sneaky, and there's a lack of trust there. So maybe even go in with the mindset that maybe they're not sneaking around or hiding this from you. It just so happens that you are seeing it. So go in with an open mind, have an open conversation about it, and also go in with the intention of learning more about your partner.
Yeah, and some of it just might be habits from long before they met you. Like, maybe you've given them a new perspective. Like, there's other ways to think about it too.
True that.